1.
Hello, I'm Kefka14. I'm going to be running Chameleon Twist all levels. Just one little tidbit about Chameleon Twist first. It may seem like a really obscure Nintendo 64 platformer, and it kind of is, but as far as speedrunning goes, the oldest 120 star run on SRC is from 2007. The oldest Chameleon Twist run on SRC is from 2004. Keep that in mind. This game's been in the speed community for a long time. So anyway, all levels is every level in the game, whereas any percent you only have to do 4 stages. So I'm ready to go. I'm going to give the countdown. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so all levels is essentially kind of like an extended version of any percent, where you see every stage in the game instead of just 4. In any percent, you have to do the first stage. You have to do the first stage in every category, naturally. But first stage here is Jungle Land. It's very short. Used to be a bit longer, but in 2019, a glitch was discovered that pretty much skips the whole second half of the stage, which is, you know, it's awesome. The glitch itself is pretty tricky. It may take me an attempt or two. Might get it first try. I don't know. We'll see. But essentially, I have to do a clip through a door. And it's a little more precise than it looks. So a lot of the movement in this game is, as you see, you stick out your tongue and grab things and swing around. And you'll be seeing that sort of movement a lot in this run to save time, especially over long distances. If you notice, you can also do like a vault off of your tongue. Alright, cool. So I got the door clip first try, which is really nice. I don't think it's frame perfect or pixel perfect exactly, but it's certainly close to it in some direction or another. So the first boss here, canonically, is called the Lizard King for some reason, even though he's very obviously a Donkey Kong ripoff. And we already won. That's it. First boss is dead. It's a very short game for the Nintendo 64. So we're playing on the English version of the game. It is the faster version for all levels. And the reason for that is because of the second stage here, Antland. This is definitely one of my weaker stages. I'm definitely more of a specialist with any percent in this game. So we'll see how I do. I'm going to take some marathon safety strats here. You can clip through this door, but I would rather... It's a bit of a tricky clip, and I would rather not sit and attempt to clip for too terribly long. So we are going to clip through this door, though. And we got a first try. Nice. So, there's not too much of this whole door clipping thing throughout the game, but there are a couple stages where it's relevant in. The first stage, this stage, and another stage that we'll be doing later. The room that we're in now is RNG, and what I mean by that is, if you notice, it's spinned around, and it's random as to how long it spins and how many times it spins. It can spin up to 3 times. We got pretty lucky. We got one pretty long spin. Also, I wanted to say thanks for you all for having me. This is the first time I've ran Chameleon Twist in a marathon in quite a few years, so it's pretty cool. It's even more interesting to me to be coming back with all levels instead of any percent, but I'm very happy to do it because it doesn't get featured enough. So we lost a little bit of time there. We took some damage trying to do things a bit of a quicker way, but we didn't fall, so that's good. I'm going to take damage here on purpose, rather than cutting it close, just to play it safe. You can jump and just barely walk on the edge there and not take damage, but I would rather take damage and, again, not fall for marathon safety. Uh-oh. Okay, third try. Not terrible. And then last door clip in this stage, and then we have another RNG spinny room. We got a first try. Lovely. So, here's the second RNG spinny room, and we got really good RNG. Maybe some of the best RNG I've ever seen in that room, actually. Wonderful. So the world record in this category is 20 minutes and 45 seconds by Quill and All the Fish, or Quill for short. It's a very excellent run. I definitely recommend people going and checking that out. My PB is a 21:12. I really enjoy this category. I don't particularly enjoy this stage, if I'm being honest. compared to the stages that are done at any percent. However, it's not the worst. Alright, so we're already to the boss of the second stage. This is the longest, most tedious boss in the game. So if any of the hosts have anything to say, now's definitely a good time to do so, because this boss is pretty boring and self-explanatory.
Right now we don't have much to say, but other than we are supporting Direct Relief, who is helping people get relief from COVID-19. So if you want more information, just type !charity in chat to get the link to find out more about the charity. And then for our next incentives, incentives are going to be for the Ghost of Tsushima, which is going to be in roughly 3 to 4 hours. We have the horse name choice, which you have 4 different options: Kaze, Kage, I think it's Kage, Sora, and Nobu, which stand for Wind, Shadow, Sky, and Trust, respectively. $1 has already been donated towards Kage. We also have Killer Save Shimura, which is just a obvious killer save choice. So if either of those tickle your fancy, feel free to drop a donation in and choose those. Also, while I have the seconds, we also have some other incentives that we aren't able to put in. We weren't able to put into Tiltify because it doesn't allow them. You can bid for the seed or player name for Lena's Inception, up to 12 characters for each. You can donate for naming Byleth in Fire Emblem Three Houses, and that is up to 8 characters. And then you can choose Byleth's birthday for the same run. And donate for those, you must put it in your comment of your donation that you're donating towards those. So please make sure that you do that if you want it to count towards those donation incentives.
All right, so we finished out Antland and had a pretty mediocre boss fight. Nothing too crazy. And now we're in Kids Land, which is very inaccurately named. It's easily the hardest stage in the game, both casually and as a speedrunner. We've had a very good Kids Land so far, and it looks like we've also got very good RNG, which is wonderful. We're going to make the fastest cycle. So what I mean by that is this room here, if you notice, there's this series of moving platforms. They're on a global timer, and part of being able to get a good time in this stage is getting good enough RNG to be able to hit the best possible cycles. Now, that being said, it isn't required to get a good time, but it's certainly a good thing. This stage, as such, has some of the hardest tricks in the game, and one of the very few glitches in the run during the boss fight. Which is maybe unfortunate, because the boss fight's really funny. Wow, we got really good RNG. Okay. Don't see RNG this good very often in this stage. But we are on par for a really good, fast Kids Land. So the any percent category for this game, this stage is definitely the big roadblock in terms of getting a top time. And it's just because the execution is extremely tricky, and then there's RNG on top of that. But we have a few seconds right here of just peace, where you just get to stand on a chocolate bar for a moment, and it's quite nice. But then we go right back to fast-paced movement. So there's a frame-perfect trick here, and I missed it, which is pretty normal. But you can pause the game as soon as you walk into that room with a frame-perfect pause. Now, why would you want to pause? Well, to save your game. So we're setting up a glitch right now called Training Room Glitch that I found in 2015. You go into training mode in the game, and reload into a boss fight. And you can move during the cutscene that introduces the boss. It's only really useful on this boss because you can do a quick kill. Which I messed it up. Sort of. I managed to get 3 out of 4 of its health points, essentially. You can get all 4, but it's very, very, very difficult to do. And you don't have to wait through this whole animation here and for it to open back up. Just missing that frame-perfect pause and the total quick kill there is a loss of like 20 plus seconds. And they're very difficult, so it's a big run killer at the top level, for sure. So now we're going to Bombland. This is probably my favorite stage in the game. The English version of the stage is a little bit different, and as such, you'll probably see me make a mistake or two. I'm a little more versed in the Japanese version. That being said, this stage has a couple of door clips and some pretty cool movement. It does have some RNG, but with the strategies I use, we skip it. For the most part, which is a good thing. So right there was an example of a subtle difference between the Japanese and English versions. In one of the previous rooms, the positions of the enemies are just shifted forward a few pixels. So I went for a cannonball there, and the reason I did that is because we have to blow these platforms up in this room to proceed. And coming into the room with some projectiles already at hand is useful. My camera is in a very, very weird angle. So this room, we just take the damage and go on through. Very tricky jump here. Well, it's not as tricky as it looks, but it's also not as easy as I make it look, I think. Cool, we got second try door clip. Let's see if we can run straight across this. Nope. That's alright, we'll play it safe and we'll take the wall. I like to run straight across if I can, because it certainly saves some time. And I would argue more often than not I make it across that bridge. There we go. Second try door clip again. So here's the boss of Bombland. This is, again, one of the bigger differences between the Japanese and English versions of the game. However, it's worth noting that there is a 1.1 English version of the game that plays just like the Japanese version of this boss, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, that was a pretty much perfect boss fight there. You can kill him in 3 shots, but in the Japanese version you can do it in 1 shot because he drops many more projectiles at once. So now we're going to go to my second favorite stage, Desert Castle. And also, we're nearing the end of the run. There's only 2 stages left. Alright, I got quiet there because I use a music cue to know when to jump there to avoid taking damage. But this stage also has a global timer, much like Kids Land. It's a little more lenient in this stage, though, I would argue. And the boss of this stage is very cool. It has a very, very interesting quick kill strategy that I may mess up, but I may not. I get it probably about 80% of the time. Alright, cool. We got the damage boost up. And we're still on time. So, really, we wanted to make sure to get here in time to jump on the platform we did, so we could ride across. Unfortunately, we can't jump up over there, at least not any way that's known right now. An interesting little strategy here is jumping and walking on this seam of geometry that's on the wall. I'm not entirely sure who found this, but I'm really glad they did, because it's just way more entertaining than riding those swingy bridge things. Very tricky vault coming up. Might take a try or two. And then we come up to a auto-scroller, essentially. The sand slide. I got 4 jumps. Those jumps are frame perfect. But now we just wait, more or less, to get down this big sand slide. For 100%, this is a pretty irritating area. Number 1, you have to jump and get that crown that you saw back there. But there's another crown further down the slide here that if you mess your positioning up on, you just can't get it. Right there it is, we just passed it. It's quite irritating to be very deep into a run and then miss that crown.
Just really quick, the Lena's Inception naming donation incentives are closing at the end of this run. So if you want to donate for the naming of the seed or the world, the character, get those in now.
Also, I wanted to say thanks to everybody that has donated. Like, I know right at the start of the marathon, it was just like bam, and that was pretty cool. Alright, so we're getting ready to get to the final kind of auto-scrolly sort of section of this stage, but it's a lot more interesting than the second. It has some very 64-looking kind of stuff. Oh, I got the jump. Nice. You can jump at just the right time there and miss those spikes. So there I walked off the edge intentionally because the death warp actually pushed us forward a little bit into the stage. And now we ride magic carpets. I've seen a lot of people casually play this game and struggle with this section just because of depth perception, but it's worth noting that all of these carpets are just completely horizontally aligned. I'm just holding right. Well, and jumping, naturally, but in terms of placement. So we're almost to the boss of this stage, and then we'll be on to the final stage. The final stage is a really scary stage in terms of speedrunning, I think. It has some very difficult tricks in it, and then the final boss itself, you have a 50-50 shot, pretty much, of getting good RNG. And that's the worst possible thing imaginable for a speedrun, is a non-consistent final boss. But this game has that. That being said, it's still not very difficult. So this is the boss of Desert Castle. It's a armadillo, but there is a quick kill strat, and I have to listen, so I'm going to be quiet for this strategy. Ah, I messed it up. So what I was trying to do was shoot him out of the ground so that he can't even do what you're about to see. Attack and, you know, waste time. Still, we didn't lose too much time. We had to end up letting him do just a little bit of his attack animations to get more projectiles. But you can essentially beat him without him ever even doing anything if you get the strat correctly. And it's not the hardest strat, but it's tricky.
Just really quick, do we have time for a donation?
Yeah, I am in the last stage, though.
Okay, so we just got another $100 donation from Obsidian saying, looking forward to Lena's Inception.
Fabulous.
We are already only like $69 away from our donation goal.
That's crazy. That's really awesome, though. That means that the bonus game will likely be met. Hooray! Alright, so this is Ghost Castle. The beginning of the stage is you walk through some corridors. Stuff starts to get interesting now. So I'm grabbing some flames. This room here, a little bit of RNG. We'll see what happens. We got really good RNG, which is nice. Essentially, it's random as to which mirror is the correct mirror to shoot. And we got really good luck. So these rooms here are kind of RNG. These platforms will always be a fixed distance away from each other on one plane, but they can shift slightly in the other plane, if that makes any sense. And you can tell the developers were running a little low on... Oh, I took some damage. Interesting. Anyway, you can tell the developers were running a little low on ideas because they just done the same puzzle but placed it apart a little wider. And in my opinion, this is the worst room in the game. In the English version, the flames spawn very slow and one at a time. In the Japanese version, they spawn 2 at a time, and they move very fast and they spawn very fast. Occasionally, you'll get a 2 spawn in the English version if you're standing at like the right place, but it isn't too common. Wow, that was terrible RNG. That last platform. All right, we have a second room here of mirror RNG. Cool, we got the second worst RNG. Lovely. We're going to take damage right here. I have no idea how to avoid that, to be frank. Alright, and here's one of the hardest tricks in the game. I'm going to give myself 3 attempts at this before I just walk it off. Or I'll just get it first try. Very flashy strategy. We call it Cuss Fault because a runner named Custom essentially started utilizing the strat, and I'm pretty sure he discovered it as well. So this is the final boss. It has 2 phases. Phase 1 is very fast. Could have been a little bit faster even, but that was pretty good. We're going to be coming up on time very, very shortly. This is the second phase and final phase of the final boss. So essentially with this second phase, you just get a whole bunch of projectiles and wait for it to shoot a curve shot, and then shoot it. You can technically kill it while it's doing a straight shot, but I'm not going to risk it. Alright, here we go, and time.
GG's.
Sweet, what was the final time?
21:05.
That was a PB. What? That's pretty cool. That was a PB, actually, by 7 seconds. I don't know how. Definitely some notable mistakes, but that's really cool. Wow.
That's really amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm already second place, so that's kind of surprising to me, but I'll take it. I'll take a marathon PB. That hasn't happened to me before, so sweet.
That's great.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll be back later on, ? And enjoy the next run. Good luck.
Coming up next, we are going to be having Susie doing Lena's Inception, Perfect Ending, Random Blind Seed. So, hope you guys are excited for that, and we'll get that run to you guys shortly.